All right, and welcome to Cover 3. My name is Jeff Kelly, and I'm going to be the main host, I guess you could say, of this show. This
I am Big Black. That's all you need to know.
His name's Fred.
Big A. No, it's Big Black.
All right, and?
I'm Corey Herman. I'm the NFL draft guy.
Okay. Today's show, we're going to start off with a few headlines that have been coming across the NFL this week. With preseason week 3 starting tonight, I believe the Steelers play Denver, I think. I could be wrong about that. Don't take my word for it. I really don't know the preseason schedule as well as I should. We'll also go over draft players rookies that this year are already performing better than what we expected, and players that need to step up and show they were worth where they were picked. And then we'll also tell you the teams that we think are going to make the playoffs this year that missed the playoffs, and vice versa. We'll tell you the teams that made the playoffs last year that will miss the playoffs this year. And then we'll close with a few of our own personal headlines. And Corey will also be bringing us some NCAA news regarding Johnny Manziel and players to watch in next year's draft. So to start off with headlines, my first one is that Hernandez today did get indicted for a murder charge. I mean, we all saw this coming with all the news that was coming out during the summer with everything they found, the guns, the video tapings, and him destroying his own security measures around his house. It kind of wasn't a surprise. I mean, I feel like everyone here can agree with me on that sooner or later they were going to find the evidence to indict him on this murder charge and all the gun charges along with it. Fred, what's your headline?
RG3 is fined $10,000 for wearing non-NFL apparel.
Yeah, you work for the NFL, RG3. You should know it's a brand. You have to wear the brand. So that's really not much about it. He'll pay. That's pocket change to him with the contract he gets and all the endorsements he has. And Corey, your headline?
The headline is that the United States Congress may intervene with HGH testing in the NFL. For me, this is I gotta say, for me, I don't think that I think the NFL should start implementing it, because with other sports leagues implementing HGH testing, it should be for the NFL, because the NFL is getting bigger, faster, stronger, and I think, who was the one player that said that in about 25 years the NFL will not exist because people will get killed, and it's getting that way.
Yeah, it is becoming big, and injury concerns are growing. That's why we see all the rule changes with helmet-to-helmet contact, tackling low, tackling high. All these major rule changes. Face mask penalties are always now 15 yards, and same with defensive pass interference and whatnot. Everything is being so scrutinized now that it is almost going to the point where we should just play flag football. Moving forward though, rookies that have impressed for me so far have been Eddie Lacy. We all saw the weight that he put on, but the weight so far hasn't really mattered with him. He had 2 great runs against St. Louis last week in the preseason, which was surprising. And Eric Fisher has not been as impressive as everyone thought he would be. Me and Corey were talking about this earlier before we filmed. Him coming out of MAC and Central Michigan, he didn't play any really big name college teams, but he looked impressive against the teams that they did play, which were all very small schools that no one really ever pays attention to and will never play in a BCS game in this generation, more than likely.
Last year, going off of Fisher too, the really only big program that I really ever saw him play against was University of Iowa, and that was. And for the MAC, I guess that was not, the Iowa was more of its bane, with Northern Illinois getting its only loss to Iowa, and Central Michigan beating Iowa thoroughly. But still, though in the past Iowa has been a tremendous program, it just last year took a downward turn with the new offense and everything. But its defensive line, which usually has been great, was not that good last year, and so it could have helped Fisher's image, but it did not. And overall, I think it probably hurt him more now with his big contracts.
Do you think if Eric Fisher would have played with a bigger name school, like let's say LSU, for example, do you still think he would have won number 1 overall?
I don't know. I don't think so. There's a lot of speculation, who could have played where. Heck, RG3 was supposed to play for Houston originally, but, would he be successful there? Who knows? Right now, I think he might have been maybe a first rounder. I wouldn't say he would be a top 5, number 1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm. Fred, who are some of the rookies that you're watching closely?
I can't remember his name right now, but I believe the Cowboys have a D lineman that's looked pretty good so far. That he's pretty much just, I'm a lineman, so I get fascinated when I see guys who are fast and strong with a good combination of quickness. And I must say, as an Eagles fan, I'm a tad bit worried for Vic in the backfield with that Cowboy.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about Michael Vick this year with the offensive line improvements, but we'll get to that when we get to it, and we're actually going to get to that right now. Fred, how about you start us off with a team in the NFC that you think will make the playoffs this year that missed it last year?
Oh, by far the Saints. Saints last year were without Sean Payton, and Drew Brees still took that team to a formidable record.
Yeah.
And I think now that Sean Payton's there, you're going to have an even better offense. And while I don't think their defense is going to be much improved, I think Brees has shown consistently that he can put up 5 touchdowns a game. That I wouldn't personally be surprised to see Brees break the touchdown record this year, just because I can see just offense galore out of the Saints this year.
Yeah, they're going to be a team that definitely outscores. And also, they did hire Rob Ryan as their new defensive coordinator. They're switching to a 3-4. We'll have to see how Will Smith switches from being a defensive end to a linebacker.
He'll do that fine. He's fast DN.
Yeah, it's going to be very fascinating for all the teams that are switching from 4-3 to 3-4. And surprisingly, Dallas being a team that's switching from 3-4 to 4-3 kind of caught me off guard, but that's why I don't think Dallas will make the playoffs this year. My team to make the playoffs that missed last year is the St. Louis Rams. The Rams last year had the most sacks in the NFL, and this year they finally got Sam Bradford, a weapon, in Tavon Austin. They also signed Jared Cook from Tennessee. They got Jake Long out of Miami to play on that offensive line. That's been a consistent problem. The one thing that hurt them was losing Steven Jackson and Danny Amendola. But honestly, I feel like Tavon Austin can play anywhere that he wants to, and they're going to use him in a variety of ways from what we've seen already in preseason, what we haven't seen in preseason that we'll see during the regular season. And also, Darrell Richardson got named the number 1 running back for them. And last year, in limited time, he was very impressive. He's a good speed back. He shows flashes at times that he could be a all-star running back. We'll just have to wait and see. But I really feel like St. Louis, they won't win the division because I strongly believe that division is going to be dominated by the Seattle Seahawks. But I feel like St. Louis this year could be a team that makes the playoffs as a wild card and possibly makes the divisional round depending on who they play in the playoffs during the wild card. And who would your team be?
This is more of the dark horse for me. I'm actually going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. One, I'm a huge fan of Bruce Arians. I love his playbook. I loved what he did over in Indianapolis. And right now they have a great quarterback in Carson Palmer who has been shown that he can come back and he can play on an elite level. Again, he has Larry Fitzgerald in there. They have a strong running back core with Rashard Mendenhall, I believe. I think he's going to be able to do well again. And they have, I think also one thing that's going to help them is they have great special teams. They have with
they will never have terrible field position.
They will not have terrible field position. Exactly. They have a great special teams, and they're going to get in there by just a thread. I believe they're not going to dominate the West because I believe Seattle is really going to just take the West by storm. But I think Cardinals are just going to slip by there ahead of the Rams and the 49ers.
All right. And I think me and Fred are both going to be in agreement on this. The team that we both think will miss the playoffs this year, and everyone's going to probably be thinking we're crazy, is the 49ers. I strongly believe that Colin Kaepernick was a one-year wonder. The read option, Baltimore last year showed hey, here's how you stop him. You keep hitting him, we're going to make him throw. Not that he's a bad passer or anything, it's just that when Kaepernick starts hearing footsteps, he gets a little erratic at times. And also, we've seen with mobile quarterbacks, Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick, RG3, and now Colin Kaepernick and Russell Wilson is also in danger of this, I feel. They're the ones that get hurt the most often because they're sacrificing their body for the sake of the team. Fred, what do you have to add to this?
I agree that the 49ers are not going to make the playoffs, but I disagree on most of the reasons that you stated. Just because, while I do agree that the way to stop the read option is by hitting the quarterback, watching the Super Bowl, Kaepernick to me proved that he could become a pocket quarterback. That Baltimore did exactly what you said. They hit him every play, but Kaepernick just said, okay, you're going to hit me. I'm just going to beat you with my arm. And Kaepernick brought the 49ers back into the Super Bowl, not with his feet, but with his arm. So I feel as if that the read option suits him and it's his strength, but I feel as if he can balance that out with his arm. Now, I think the 49ers will do good. I do think they're going to finish with a double-digit win. I just think the NFC this year is going to be just so stacked that it's going to be hard for any team to get in this year. I can see an 11-win team in the NFC missing the playoffs.
And we have seen this before in previous years where a team wins 10, 11 games and just misses the playoffs because of division winners and guys ahead of them. But that's one reason they're thinking about adding a possible third and fourth wild card, which if they do that, I'd be kind of concerned for how they're going to do playoff format.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see. Corey, who's your team?
This, I'm going to kind of go against. I do agree with the 49ers, but I'm going to refresh it up. I might even say the Redskins. I love RG3, I truly do, but I think right now he's just shown too much. Like he might have a sophomore slump, and also just he might be a little more injury prone. He might not be as fast as he was with his ACL injury.
Second ACL injury, actually.
Exactly, his second ACL injury, and that right now he commands that team. But I don't think Kirk Cousins, his backup, will be able to come in. He has shown flashes, but he's just been back. He does not have the same versatility that RG3 has. And I believe that the Redskins are just will not make it to the playoffs this year. I think they can still win, but they might be that 11-win team that might not make it.
Yeah. All right, now heading over to the AFC. Teams that are going to make the playoffs, that didn't make the playoffs last year. I'm going to start off. My team's not going to be really much of a surprise. Kansas City. Let's look at the moves they made during the offseason. They go and trade for Alex Smith. They signed great depth. They got Sean Smith, a guy that I was very high on when he was playing in Miami because he's a tall, versatile corner. And then they hire Andy Reid to be their head coach. Being an Eagles fan, I've had to watch Andy Reid for 14 seasons. The last 2 seasons in Philadelphia were very downtrodden and bad. But you don't forget how to coach, and that's the thing with Andy Reid. He's a good coach, and he's going to have a team that has great defense already in place. He doesn't have to worry about the defense as much as he had to if he went to a team like Jacksonville. Let's say Jacksonville hired him. If he went to Jacksonville, Andy Reid would be looking at this team going, I have nothing here. I have to rebuild this team.
MJD.
He has MJD. That's it. But basically, he'd have to rebuild the team from the ground up.
Yeah.
He goes to Kansas City and he goes, okay, all I need really is a quarterback and some depth on the defense. He added that. And he's going to stick with a 3-4. And we know Tamba Hali is a great pass rusher out of that 3-4. Still got Tyson Jackson. Terry Poe last year at nose tackle was just a monster. He may not have been as good as let's say, Ndamukong Suh, but he still showed I can plug up the middle. And I can allow the linebackers to get through, hit the running back in the backfield, protect the quarterback. Fred?
My pick is probably going to be Miami. I am a defensive person. Like, my philosophy is instilled for me from my high school football coach. I was a defensive lineman, and the one thing he preached every game was if the other team can't score, they can't win. And I believe Miami has pieces set to make it very difficult for other teams to find a way to score. They have decent run defense with I believe, didn't they add Darrelle Revis this year?
No,
that was
that
the
would be
Tampa Bay
that'd be
one.
Tampa Bay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Oh, same for.
But they did add Daniel Ellerby from
Mhm.
Baltimore, and they selected Deion Jordan in the draft.
Yeah, so I believe that Ellerby is going to definitely sure up a pretty strong run defense, and Deion Jordan, good luck passing. So
Yeah.
I just feel as if right now the Miami Dolphins, just on defense alone, will make it very difficult for anyone to score.
Also, you have to remember they got Tannehill 11 and Mike Wallace. He may be a one-trick pony who's just very fast and runs streak routes, but they're showing all these different things that Mike Wallace can do in the preseason. I like watching him work across the middle and just throw the ball and watch him go up and get it.
Mhm.
He's a taller, maybe slightly faster version of Deshaun Jackson. Corey, who's your team?
I'm also going to go with Miami. For me, I'm an offensive guy. I absolutely love the quarterback, and I absolutely love Ryan Tannehill. Last year, he showed, even though the Dolphins did not make the playoffs, he showed that he could lead the team. And he also showed that he had an arm that can contend later on with, for me, I think he can contend with Drew Brees and with Peyton Manning, I think. He now has Mike. Well, it's a little bit of a stretch. Give him some time. He will be able to.
All right, I'll give him the time.
Give him some time. But I think also right now adding Mike Wallace will help out. They have a different offensive look, and I believe they're going to be able to get into the playoffs. I believe so.
Yeah, my team did not make the playoffs this year. They made the playoffs last year and the year previously is Houston. Okay, it's not that I think Houston is going to take a huge step backwards. It's just I think Andrew Luck's going to take a huge step forward and dominate that division. And the thing about Houston is it seems like the past 2 years in a row, someone big on their defense has gotten hurt. 2 years ago, Mario Williams, torn ACL. Last year, Brian Cushing, torn ACL. They did help out Matt Schaub in the draft and Andre Johnson by getting another wide receiver in there. DeAndre Hopkins is now there. But he hasn't worked with the number ones at all. I don't know if he's just not progressing as well as they were hoping. But it kind of worries me that they took this guy with their number one overall pick, and I thought for sure he would be a starter week one. Right now, it doesn't look like he might be, but you never know. One good preseason game could change that all. Arian Foster's still there, but I just look at the teams they have to go up against this year, and they play teams like Denver. They beat Denver last year, but Denver got better. They play New England. We already know what happens when they play New England. They don't show up. Doesn't matter if they're at home or if they're in New England. They just can't compete. Schaub, he's kind of getting up there in age, and last year he showed those signs of inconsistency that I had always been wondering when they're going to show up. He had way too many good years for him to not have a bad season. But Houston could be a team that still makes playoffs, but right now I just feel like the Colts are going to dominate that division. They have a much easier schedule than Houston, and we've seen that strength of schedule thing. It can really matter between making the playoffs and missing them. Fred, who's your team?
It's going to surprise everyone, but I do not believe the Ravens will defend their Super Bowl championship this year. I think with the loss of Ray Lewis, the loss of Ellerby, the loss of Reed, and not very much replacement, it's just going to catch up to him. And then, Ray Lewis and Ed Reed were the emotional leaders of that team. And you can replace them in character, but you can't replace the Ray Lewis emotion. You can't replace the Ed Reed just command of respect. You can't you can't replace the respect.
It's like when the Eagles tried to replace Brian Dawkins.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
It still hasn't worked.
It's hard. It's hard because Ray Lewis was the heart and soul of that team for three decades. He was.
Two.
He was the cornerstone of it.
And a span of basically 3 decades. But basically right now it's going to be hard because Ray Lewis brought leadership, and that's a hard thing to fill in there. Plus, they did not. The only way they were really replaced it was through the draft. So it's most likely going to be a rebuilding year, but they might be. They will be contenders later in the future if Harbaugh can make the team his own.
I think Flacco will be the key to any future success because now Flacco has the mega quarterback deal. He is being looked upon not just as the cornerstone of the offense, but right now with the retirement of Ray Lewis and the departure of Ed Reed, then right now he's becoming the cornerstone of the organization.
Well, even Ray Lewis last year, whenever he announced his retirement, someone said, "With you gone, who's the leader of the team?" He said, "Well, I'm not the leader of this team anymore. Joe is." When Joe came in here, I basically knew my time was coming up, and it's not because he didn't play quarterback. We all know that.
Yeah.
But he was the leader for the defense and the team. But he said Flacco came in as a rookie and was already commanding respect. And he got the respect of the team behind him.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I'm going to say this and Fred will agree with me, the team that's going to win that division this year is going to be the Bengals.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are going to take it. I think the only shining bit on the defense the Ravens did was getting Dummerville. I think that was a great mishap that ended up great for Baltimore. Timing is everything in this case.
And also, a fax machine being used in 2013.
Exactly. Yeah, get a little bit up in technology, but still, that little one mistake just paid off for Baltimore, and so that really helped their defense, and that made their defensive line a lot more versatile, and it's going to help with the development of their linebackers in the future.
All right, who do you think the team that is going to be best?
The best, honestly, I think is still the best for going to miss.
The team that's going to miss the playoffs this year that made it.
Oh, I'm actually going to still agree with Baltimore. That's going in there again. Defense has been their key for all these years, and that's people have known. They've known the defense because they knew Ed Reed and they knew Ray Lewis. Both of them, they had so much experience between them, and both future Hall of Famers.
No doubt.
And they're going. And right there, you just lost a huge gap because you can have a lot of talented teams, but it's leadership on that defense and that knowledge of offenses that Ray Lewis brought. That's going to be a huge hole for them to fill. So I think they are going to miss it. And the only reason why they would probably even make the playoffs is if Flacco has just a massive year this coming year, and if Ray Rice starts putting in more numbers like I know he can.
Yeah. The thing, though, that I want to bring back really quickly about Flacco is he is, I believe, one of 3 quarterbacks playing the postseason, throw 10-plus touchdowns, and no interceptions. The other 2, Joe Montana and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So that's really good company for the BM, and that really, him winning the Super Bowl really helped him get that huge mega deal that he got. But right now, how about we do our Week 1 headlines that we think we're going to see in the regular season? Fred, I'll let you go first.
Okay, my Week 1 headline is, honestly, as much as it pains me to do this, because if you read my blog, I'm a huge supporter of this player, but I think it's going to be Tim Tebow being released from the Patriots.
Wow.
I think he, I love Tebow. I think he could be a great quarterback, but I just don't think Belichick will have the patience to deal with Tim Tebow. So I think my big Week 1 headline will be Tim Tebow released from the Patriots.
I'll contend just a little bit with you about the Patriots. One, I think it's a very true possibility. I do believe that, but I believe with Belichick, he's also acts like a basically the GM in that, and he got Tebow for a reason. I think maybe they want to try to use it because Tebow is a running quarterback, and Brady and Mallett are both just pocket quarterbacks. And if he wants some versatility, maybe he wants to try to get a wildcat package or something, Tebow might be useful. But how much he's going to use them in the future, that's the key. And it's going to be these upcoming weeks that are going, these upcoming games that are going to have to determine. Because I think either they're going to use them or they're going to release them. That's it.
Yeah. Another thing, going quickly staying on the Tebow soapbox, is when the Patriots were doing their joint practice with the Eagles, one thing that kept catching my eye was Tebow kept lining up as a tight end or a wide receiver. So who knows? Maybe Tebow is finally giving up this quarterback notion and saying, you know what, I love playing football and I'll do whatever it takes to stay in the game. If that means switching to a tight end, I'll do it.
But he could maybe take on sort of like an Antoine Randall type deal.
Exactly.
Where they could have trick plays of him running as a running back.
Mhm.
And just coming up and throwing it.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the strongest arm, but Tebow can show that if you give him time, he can hit a guy.
And
Yeah.
still, my favorite play that I remember Randall Oliver doing was in the Super Bowl.
The pass
Yeah.
Hines Ward.
Exactly. That's really my only play that I do remember of him, and I think that's a true possibility. He still has the speed, and I think Belichick might pull that out.
Mhm.
He might pull out Coward's playbook. So
Cowher was a great coach. Why
Yeah.
not? My week 1 headline. It's not going to be really too much of a surprise, I think, but we've slowly been seeing this rift between Shannon and RG3. I think that rift is going to finally be very widely noticeable throughout the NFL. It's slowly getting there, I feel like, and it's going to happen because Shannon's not going to let RG3 play week 1. I think that would be my headline. RG3 sits out week 1. Even though he's cleared by Dr. James Andrews, Shannon doesn't feel like it's right because he already got scrutinized last year for letting him play in that playoff game after he had hurt his ankle. Do I think it's going to majorly affect the Redskins season? There's one thing I've learned from watching the NFL. If your quarterback ain't happy, no one ain't happy. If RG3 isn't happy with Shannon, we could see Shannon get the boot. And then a lot of people that I've been talking to saying there are a few people on the hot seat this year. Jim Schwartz and Mike Shannon. Jim Schwartz is a little bit more reasonable. Mike Shannon, I don't know, since he's a 2-time Super Bowl winning coach. But the thing about Shannon is he's always been looking for the next John Elway. He kind of got an RG3, but we'll see what happens. Corey, what's your week 1 headline?
this is not as big as one as Tebow being released or RG3 sitting out. For me, honestly, it's a little more of a headline. Actually, Bills win. Manuel has big game. People were complaining that EJ Manuel is not top quarterback. He's not a good one. But I think honestly, with the new playbook that they install over there in Buffalo, and just the brief glimpse we have of him, I think he's going to be able to come out and have a massive game. I think the playbook right now is just now designed around him. Originally, it was for Nassib over for Syracuse, but it fits perfectly with EJ Manuel. I loved him while he was in college at Florida State, and I thought, honestly, like if he got someone screwed out at Florida State with a lot of different calls from the games I saw. And I think that he's going to be able to come out and prove to people who thought he should have been a second and third rounder, which I thought so, but even though it was a bad quarterback here, I think he's going to come out and he's going to have a great game. Now, that's a little more of a roll of the dice, but that's just me.
I'm going to add a second headline. You guys get a freebie from me this week. And it's just because I can't stop thinking about it, because you brought up bad quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I think week 1 we'll see the Bug Fumble Part 2 from Mark Sanchez.
Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
Why is he still on the Jets? Why is he?
I think what they're still trying to find that flash of his rookie season, his rookie and sophomore seasons. I think they're still trying to get that because I'll say
I think that's gone and passed.
I think it's gone and passed, but I think they're still just trying to hold on for it. Kind of like people wanted the Rolling Stones to add a new album to have another hit line, and yet their new album sucks.
Well, also, you got to remember, that was Rex Ryan's first draft pick as a head coach.
Yeah.
You always hold on to that first draft pick. We saw Andy Reid until Donovan McNabb, hold on to Donovan McNabb until he realized McNabb ain't the same Donovan McNabb I drafted and played with for 10 years.
And getting Vic, too. That helped a lot, too.
Yeah. But now I'm going to turn it over to Corey because Corey's going to do our NCAA coverage. I'm not as well versed in college, but I'll try and chime in as much as possible in football also.
All right. Well, first, I'm just going to have my little soapbox when it comes to Johnny Manziel. Yes, it's all over the news, but here's the thing. The reason why I'm talking about it is because I talked about the NFL draft, and Manziel is definitely going to the draft. I'm going to say that right now because I believe he is going to miss this next season. Why? Because it's not because if he got money or not. That is disputable because we know that his little agent / friend or whatever he is took money. We know that for sure. Did Manziel receive some of it? We're not sure. But the one thing that he's going to get screwed on is the fact that he has not stopped his image and his name being used. The NCAA says that if a player finds out that his image or his name is being used outside of permission from the university, it is their job to stop it, or else it's still the same as almost profiting. But Manziel went outside the university and went off to Florida to have just a jolly good time signing autographs, thinking he might get away with it. 6,000, like 6,000 autographs, something like that. Really, really just appalling. That's no way of saying, well, maybe I tried stopping it. No, that was intentional. But here's the thing. It's going to hurt him in the draft, not because, one, if he's going to miss an entire year, that's going to hurt for a quarterback in any cases. Jeff George missed a year right that, and he didn't end up being that good for the Colts. But also what's going to hurt is because people look at off-field incidents. We still look at everything is being scrutinized today. Their tweets, their Facebook statuses, photos. We live in a connected world. You can get screwed within an hour, all right? I remember seeing, like, after he won the Heisman, these pictures from the party when he dressed up like Scooby-Doo of all characters, dressing up like that. That came up to light. And now all these different incidents, tweeting also, one thing that appalls me is the fact that he basically says, I'd rather be playing for the Texas Longhorns than the Aggies. That's the worst thing you can do to a person who lives in or near College Station, is say that I like the orange and white than the Aggies. That's the worst thing you can possibly do.
Didn't he even throw up the hook'em horns?
He did throw up the hook'em horns over at a club in Austin. And also he was taught these tweetings basically kind of says like San Antonio or Dallas is my area, and not going for Houston where College Station's more near. And right now his instance just his brash, and finding out his background, I'm not surprised because his dad owns a dealership, so basically he's having daddy come to the rescue for most of the stuff. But right now I think he's going to have a tarnished career, and it's even been shown right now. Today the SEC coaches released their preseason all-conference players. Manziel, number 2, second team, with Aaron Murray taking first team. That right there shows that everyone's just fed up with his off-field incidents. And honestly, just get out as soon as you can, Johnny. Get the heck out. Just let college football stay the way it is. And I'll say right now, I think college, another thing I'm just going to add right here, you might see in the next couple of years, a lot of college teams are going to get hurt. And I might even go out, and I'm going to say this right now, Baylor University. There's been some sketchy reports coming out about players receiving benefits for that, which I'm actually going to say right now, Baylor, that makes sense now. All these different recruits they started getting. Once the butt of the entire Big 12, now they're contenders year after year. Now, I'll say right now, RG3, what a lot of people might be thinking, he's going to get saved. Yeah, he will. Well, he's not going to get saved. He's going to screwed, but he will be saved. Baylor got lucky by getting him because when they hired their new coach from Houston, RG3 originally committed to Houston, then he went over to Baylor to follow the coach. Mm-hmm. But right now, Baylor might be on the chopping block soon. Just wait for at some point something's going to happen. Because right now it looks like Texas is going back to its old ways from the Southwest Conference. Mm-hmm. The whole SMU, everyone was treating back then. But then again, I've heard from someone basically every college team cheats, just some mess up. That's what it is.
And also, really quickly going back to Johnny Manziel, his father kind of threw him under the bus a few weeks ago, saying Johnny has a bad temper. I won't even play golf with him because I've seen him destroy his clubs when we've golfed together.
Yeah, right there. Right there, if that temper's going to get in the way of his being teachable, no coach will put up with that. No one will put up with that because right now they want someone who's going to be willing to listen and going to be able to be calm under pressure. That temper will come back to hurt him. And I tell you right now, yeah, you're still a little freshman in the eyes of everyone because your temper is just horrible and your attitude is just horrible too. He's just a prima donna in my eyes, and I absolutely have no respect for Johnny Manziel. The sad part of it, though, he has a lot of talent. Drew Brees, I think he has Drew Brees-like talent when he can't, like Drew Brees coming out of Purdue, except for Drew Brees didn't win the Heisman.
Yeah.
But
Drew Brees was also undersized, unlike Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, but right now, Manziel, these off-field incidents, and if he does get screwed out, he will drop in the draft. I think he might drop into the second, maybe third round. And of course, for Johnny, money's not a big option, but it does but the difference between a top 5 and a second-round pick is a lot of dollars.
Yeah.
So.
All right, who else should we be watching now for this year?
All right. So for me, this is my first time. I'm going to say right now, when I look at players, I don't look at their stats. I look at their athletic ability and what they can put up. Because if we went by stats alone, Colt Brennan and Tommy Chang, both of Hawaii, should have been number 1 picks overall.
Yep.
But no, they're not because they didn't have. But stats don't say everything in college because you're on a different level. I'm going to highlight 2 players. 2 players mainly every week unless I find someone I might like. My first player, actually, Dre Archer, running back out of Kent State. Now, there's always hesitation about a player coming from the MAC because the MAC is not a great league. You know, Northern Illinois making it to the Orange Bowl with a 1-loss season still appalls me. But that's the BCS for you. Right now, Dre Archer, I'm going to say, might even be able to creep into the first round with performances against LSU and Penn State, both away. That is going to be the key because right now he has tremendous speed. And Sports Illustrated recently just had an article come out that even said Dre Archer even has a chance of winning the Heisman. I believe it was 1 out of 75. And that right there is still great odds for a running back coming from Kent State of all places. And right now, he's basically a poor man's
Darren Sproles.
Yep, poor man's Sproles. And I think he's going to be able to come out and show that he can compete. If he was on any other team, if he went to Ohio State, right now we'd be talking about him maybe even being a top 5. He has excellent speed, he has great vision, and if he is able to show that he can play in loud places and in tough environments against top quality defenses in LSU and Penn State, then I would even say he's going to creep up into the first round because not only is he a running back, but he's also a good returner too. That speed is something it's hard to buy these days.
Mm-hmm.
Second player I'm not going to say, I'm going to go on there. One guy I was going to go over is actually Anthony Barr. Now I had Clowney at first, but everyone talks about Clowney, and I'm going to move to next week. Anthony Barr is a linebacker out of UCLA. Right now, he came out of the woodworks last year. He was a former running back that turned into a linebacker that turned into a monster. Last year, he was a huge key in helping UCLA's rise out of the ashes out of the Pac-12 South. He was tremendous on that. He showed that he can play up there on the lines, and he has offensive knowledge too as a running back. That is something that's hard to buy these days. What I saw from him, that with some work, he will be a first-round pick, and he could actually be a great replacement for, say, maybe the Bears or something like that, who are looking maybe to try to find a different linebacker for the future. So, and basically right now, last year he was one of the Pac-12 first-team offense. Came second to Will Sutton out of Arizona State for Pac-12 Player of the Year, and has shown that basically he will be a first-round pick because he has great vision, he can hit, and that he can be able to cover too.
Right.
So, yep.
Okay, we're going to close out this week's episode, but I want to tell everyone to check out our blog. I'll have a link for that. And also like us on Facebook. It's Cover 3 Podcast. I'll have a link for that also. And once the regular season starts firing up, we're going to be doing our picks every week. Mm-hmm. And we want to encourage you guys that are watching this and following us on Facebook to play along and see if you can beat us in our picks. And maybe if someone is able to beat our picks, maybe we'll give out a prize or something. That's up in the air. But hey, bribery never hurt anything.
No, bribery never hurts. Except for if you're college team or something like that, then you get screwed over.
Yeah. But that's it for
Pete Rose.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Pete Rose.
Pete Rose, yeah.
But we don't do baseball. But Pete Rose is a great example. So that's it for us on Cover 3. I'm Jeff. Signing out for me, myself, Fred,
And Corey.
Corey. Well, see you next week.